You may not have heard, there haven't been many fanfares, but here in Westminster Abbey, they're in the middle of restoring one of the wonders of medieval England. They've let me in for a site inspection, as long as I promise to take my shoes off before heading into the sacred heart of the Abbey to see this. Now, this is the Cosmati pavement, created in 1268. It's one of the great, rather neglected treasures of the whole British art tradition. In the 13th century, wonderful floors like this were the pride and joy of churches all across Christian Rome. But here in Westminster Abbey, we've got by far the finest surviving example north of the Alps. But it's no mere decoration, because for the king who commissioned it and for his people, this was, so to speak, an X marks the spot. Here, this circle at the centre of the pavement marks the absolute ceremonial and sacred epicentre of the nation. First, a little history. Westminster Abbey was the crowning glory of the reign of King Henry III, who wanted to create a building to match the great French Gothic cathedrals of Amiens, Chartres and Reims. Every good cathedral needed a holy relic, so Henry interred the bones of the saintly Edward the Confessor in this magnificent shrine. You can still just see what remains of the lavish ornamentation done by Cosmati craftsmen. Italian marblers whose intricate decorations of precious stones, gold and coloured glass continued a tradition of mosaic begun in classical Rome. But the Cosmati mosaic on this shrine is smaller in scale and less ambitious than the great Cosmati masterpiece that Henry commissioned to lie in front of the Abbey's high altar. Now, the architecture of a great Gothic cathedral like Westminster Abbey is designed to draw the eye upwards into contemplation of this perfect symmetry, a reflection of God's perfect order. The Cosmati pavement draws the eye down, and it gives you another image, a complementary image of the wonderful logic of God's creation. And that's really the meaning that's embedded in all these beautiful patterns and circles. The pavement's design is an elaborate tapestry of curving patterned bands connecting squares and circles. Simple shapes, but in medieval philosophy packed with metaphor and meaning. The square represents the material world, its four sides reflecting the four elements of air, water, fire and earth. The circle, there are 29 of these roundels, each filled with a different geometric design, is the purest of shapes, a symbol of the infinite, of the divine. At the very centre of the pavement, the cosmic symbolism of the square, the circle and the cross, emblem of crucifixion. A meditation on the meaning of the universe, how it came from eternity and will return to eternity. Now, we're constantly led to believe that science and religion pull in opposite directions, but here, in this wonderful floor, you can see exactly how, to the medieval mind, to understand geometry, to understand science, to understand the beautiful patterns of mathematics, was to get dim glimmerings of the ultimate logic of God's intelligent design. But that's not the only message hidden in the pavement. And if you look very closely at this stone perimeter that runs around the central square of the pavement, you can still see little traces of what makes this Cosmati floor so unique. It's the only one in the world that has an inscription. It's a fascinatingly strange inscription too, because what it tells us, among other things, is how you calculate the exact time of the end of the world. But it's okay, you don't need to book that once-in-a-lifetime holiday just yet, because according to the medieval mathematicians, the world will end in 19,683. And to preserve the pavement until Armageddon, a team of conservators is lovingly cleaning and restoring its thousands of tiles, after it had been hidden under carpeting, believe it or not, for almost 150 years. They don't make them like these anymore. This looks to me like it's actually in fantastically good shape. Where would these stones have come from? Because I don't associate, for example, porphyry with the British Isles. Did they bring them from Italy?
Yes, they did. They were actually slicing up columns from ancient Rome.
Ancient Rome is being vandalised so that an English king can have an Italian Cosmati-style pavement in the latest fashion.
Well, the Cosmati, or the marblers, had special dispensation from the Pope to actually create these mosaic Cosmati floors. So you see them all over the Papal States.
Presumably, the ancient Romans would have had some of this stuff from Egypt.
Absolutely. I mean, there's the purple stone is from Egypt, and this has special symbolism from the imperial purple colour.
Surely, I mean, this is just an innocent bit of grey border, isn't it? I mean, there's no symbolic meaning to that, or is there?
There is, because Purbeck marble is made up of the fossils of freshwater snails, and it was often said that these were the souls of the animals that didn't make it into the Ark. So
really?
you have the symbolism of the Purbeck along.
So it seems to me that wherever you look in this floor, there's no such thing as an innocent stone, or rather a stone that doesn't have a meaning. In 1953, Queen Elizabeth II's coronation was televised. Millions of viewers were modern witnesses to an ancient, awe-inspiring ceremony binding God, monarchy and state. The exact site of the coronation linked the future with the past because, according to ancient tradition, the throne was placed directly above the very centre of the Cosmati pavement. Although no one could see, it was hidden from view under a dull carpet. Only now that the carpet is gone does the logic of that time-honoured protocol shine forth. I think of this central disc of onyx that almost looks like an image of the Earth from outer space, surrounded by clouds. I think of it as the magical centre of the whole pavement. And it's also the symbolic centre because for centuries, 750 years, every English king and every English queen has been crowned on this spot, have been anointed as God's representative on earth to rule this nation. And it sends a shiver up your spine when you think, Henry VIII was crowned here, Elizabeth I was crowned here, the ill-fated Charles I. There are so many ghosts here. I sense in this floor the coming together of many different civilizations, ancient Rome, ancient Greece, but also the influence of Byzantium and even of Islamic religious pattern making. There's so much history, and I think there's an echo of this beautiful floor in a wonderful line from Shakespeare, who wrote, "The floor of heaven is thick inlaid with patterns of bright gold." Because he goes on to say that every circle sings like an angel. And when I look at this floor, that's what I think of. I think of a wonderful medieval piece of music, but sung not with a human voice, but with the patterns of stone.